if let's say Pritam Singh is so concerned about public perception, shouldn't he be like, just say?
In the recent parliamentary sitting, the MPs got together and they wanted to clarify about the Ridout Road situation. They wanted to know, was there any breach in the Ministerial Code of Conduct? Was there privileged information gotten? Was there any conflict of interest? Especially from Shanmugam's point of view. And on this topic of conflict of interest, right, they spoke at length about it. They discussed about what is actual conflict of interest, what is potential conflict of interest, what is perceived conflict of interest. I find the whole discussion was really a semantic argument. It was just, what is your take on it based on the definition? A lot of it was about the perceived conflict of interest. They wanted to know what the public felt. Was there a conflict of interest from the public perspective? And this was a running theme. I realized a lot of them were discussing how was the public sentiments, how did the public feel about everything that happened. That brings me to the main point that I want to discuss today. What is the public perception? Okay, because in the last video, right, if you guys didn't catch our last video where we discussed the Ridout Road saga, you can click here and you can watch it. In the last video, we explored this idea that perhaps Minister Shanmugam was a bit uncomfortable. There was a bit of mental discomfort, and the reason for that is because he felt public perception was quite negative. So that actually proved to be quite true lah. And the concern is, you can do everything right and you can even prove that you've done everything right, public can still perceive it differently. So that becomes a concern. A lot of the opposition members, including Pritam Singh, brought up the idea of political optics. Political optics is basically how the public is perceiving all of this. So I'm going to play you guys a video where he talks about this.
And my point when I raised my first set of questions was, there's a question of political optics. When we want to rent, let's say, a landed property, an intermediate terrace house would cost less than a corner terrace or a semi-detached house. Why? Because the land has utility. If you are a pet lover, you can clearly see that connection. If you have a big family like Minister Vivian, that land, the additional land, has utility. Hence, in the minds of people, the view is surely there ought to be some value attached to that, notwithstanding the clarification Second Minister of Law made about how the valuers in SLA look at it. I think that's the public perception that has raised some of these questions that have come to bear.
Okay, so that was Pritam. What are your thoughts on this?
Pritam Singh talk about public perception, right? Take a look like 1 month plus ago. How was the public perception? They are saying that Shanmugam has preferential treatment, and then for some reason he cut the tree illegally, and then they say that SLA paid for the car porch, right? Yeah, and they also say that the son is involved with the renovation. So you take a look at all these things, right? They are all negative public perception. And where does it come from? It comes from the opposition and their supporters,
That's true.
So, yeah, if let's say Pritam Singh is so concerned about public perception, shouldn't he be like very firm with going out there to make a stance when someone is making allegation of all these MPs?
Yeah, actually all this started from the post made by Kaale and nothing happened to him. I feel like if the government allow this to happen, people will become bolder and more of these nonsense will start appearing.
Exactly.
So I feel like if you want to stop this, there should be more serious consequences. And also, issue POFMA.
That is a false statement.
One thing that also happened, right, the politicians were playing soccer. But the only difference is the opposition members kept shifting the goalposts. At the start, right, the main idea was they wanted to determine, was there any wrongdoing or not? Once they realized, alamak, everything clean, everything above board, we cannot pin him on this, let's find something else. So what's the something else? They realized he went through the deputy secretary to let him know that I'm gonna be involved in this, I will recuse myself. Okay, so on that point, right, they kept harping again and again and again. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, I feel that right, as the Minister of Law, Shanmugam want to recuse himself from the situation. So he do his due diligence, he find that this is the most appropriate step to take. So he decided to do it lah. And if there's no wrongdoing, right, I feel it's okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel also lah. And I believe a lot of the PAP MPs felt the same way. To the point where even the Prime Minister himself, he came up and said something to that effect. I'm going to play a video for you guys. You can see he's a bit fired up. This is what he said.
The question of the minister instructing the civil servant was not public knowledge until we brought it out. The issue has been there since, I don't know, April, over a few months, and the outrageous allegations were being made that the ministers had enjoyed improper benefits and inside tracks and were getting a sweet deal, and all sorts of very grave innuendos were being stated. Nobody cared how he found out about the properties. Now that the report has come out and all those grave suspicions have been dispelled, you focus on this question and you ask, should he have asked the Deputy Secretary? My view is he could have done it a different way. He could have done it this way. He has given the House the reasons why he did it this way. I think those are cogent reasons, which I accept.
So you can see...
He fed up.
Totally fed up.
You know how many times he did this? Boom, boom.
Then he stopped himself. Okay. Calm.
Because it happens all the time. People just anyhow throw out insinuations and all.
I tell you I was watching this parliamentary debate okay, live. So I was going through the comments and all right. I tell you, the amount of people talking shit is like 80%. And then the most common thing, right, they say is Ownself, check Ownself.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so at first, right, people thought that it's only SMTO that is involved. So that one you say Ownself, check Ownself, okay lah, because it's only a single entity ma. But what people don't realize is there are actually a lot of different parties involved. For example, okay, Teo Chin Hian, okay, the man himself, the two ministers, the managing agents, SLA, CPIB, and the agents of the ministers. Yeah. All these entities, which some are operating independently, in order for them to Ownself check Ownself, right? All these entities have to sing the same song to cover up one mistake or like one thing. What are the odds of that? Yeah, so I feel like people are just complaining for the sake of complaining. No matter what they do, right, somebody will find fault with it.
That's true.
Yeah, this reminds me of the story of the donkey. There's a father and a son walking along the donkey, right, towards this village lah. So what happened is, as they are walking, people start to make noise. They say that, wow, this father and son are damn stupid. Never take advantage of the donkey. They can just sit on it, right? The father heard already, imbalance. I'm not stupid, what? Okay, let me put the boy on the donkey. So as they carry on walking to the village, people start to make noise. This boy, bad boy, letting the poor old man with knee problem, with back problem, walk under the hot sun for so long.
Bad boy.
So after that, what happened is, the father heard already, he was thinking he needs a seat. So, switch, right? Now the father is on the donkey. So as they carry on walking to the next point, people start to make noise again. They say that, why are you letting the boy walk so long? He's just a 3-year-old boy, right?
Bad father.
So now we have a bad father. After the father heard all these things, he was very affected. He was thinking, he came up with this genius idea. He put the boy on the donkey. They walk alongside. Together.
So two of them on the donkey.
Yes. He was thinking, nobody gonna say anything now. As they carry on walking, he was wrong. People start to make noise, saying that you treating the donkey, you are doing these bad things to animals. People start to make a lot of noise. So the moral of the story is, right, whatever you do, right, there are for sure people gonna say a lot of things.
That's true.
So the thing is that it's more important for you to do right and then to ignore the rest. But I think the bigger moral of the story is, don't be an ass.